Hey everybody, it's Andrew here at Vespa Portland. Sorry for the long break. It's been like, I don't know, 6 months. It's been a pretty wild summer. We don't do a lot of videos in the summer because it's just too busy. And it's still technically summer for another 2 days, but we're doing a video. We're back. Maybe we'll find the stride and do some more. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. In this video, we're gonna be talking about the NIU UQi GT, different type of scooter. This is a electric 50cc equivalent scooter for getting around small areas at surface street speeds, parking easily and just kind of enjoying a nice silent cruise around your neighborhood or your town or your dense inner city area, or even at a campsite if you're retired and you put one of these on the back of your recreational vehicle. To legally operate this scooter in Oregon and Washington, you're going to need just a driver's license, and of course you're going to have to carry motorcycle insurance and have a DOT approved motorcycle helmet on. It could be a full face, it could be the open face, but it cannot be a bicycle helmet like you would ride on a mountain bike, even though this sort of has a bicycle look to it. It's got to be a motorcycle helmet. In Oregon and Washington, you have to follow the same rules in both states as any car would. So you can't ride in a bike lane, can't ride in a sidewalk, that sort of thing. You have to pretend that you are a car. No lane splitting as of the time of this video either. In other states, the rules are going to vary. Look up your own local laws. I'm not going to go through every place. I can tell you in like California, you have to have a full motorcycle endorsement to ride this, even though it only goes 30 miles an hour. In Nevada, I think you don't have to have anything. Motorcycle endorsement, driver's license, or a helmet. I'm pretty sure you can just do whatever you want in Nevada. But look at your local laws, because that's going to tell you what you need to do so that you're not getting pulled over and having to deal with the law. That all said, even if it's still perfectly legal in your state to ride this with just a driver's license and no formal training, we still recommend that you familiarize yourself with some best practices of riding. You could watch 2 of the videos that we made, Safe Vespa Riding. It applies to this bike as well. There's also one on defensive parking you could check out, and there's other things you could look up on YouTube, like things I wish I knew as a new rider, that sort of thing. Any kind of training you can give yourself to help you stay safe on the road could save your life, frankly. So getting onto the scooter, we're going to start with the overall design. You might be looking at this scooter and thinking to yourself that this doesn't look like most scooters that you have seen. It doesn't have that kind of classic leg shield with your legs completely inside the scooter frame kind of look, that aesthetic that your other scooters would have, like a Vespa or even like a genuine Buddy. This bike definitely looks a little more like a bicycle or even an enduro motorcycle than the typical scooters you've seen with the leg shields blocking your legs from the elements. Let us know in the comments what you think. Do you like the design, or do you prefer the old standard scooter look? The riding position is going to be upright and comfortable, and your feet are already kind of outside the frame on these pegs right here. So it's going to be super easy and stable when you're making low speed maneuvers if you have to put a foot down or anything like that. So the scooter is meant for in-city riding, surface street speeds, slower roads, not big stuff, definitely not a freeway, not a highway, anything like that. You know, you're going to look for roads that are 20 mile an hour, 25 mile an hour, 30 mile an hour is kind of where this is going to shine. This could also be a good scooter for someone who is retired and traveling the country on an RV. A lot of people like to put a scooter on the back of those because it's way easier to get around on this than it is to drive your whole RV into some town and find a place to park it. And then of course set it back up at a campsite when you're done, you know, getting a burrito or whatever you do when you're retired in an RV. What's the top speed on this thing? 29 miles an hour. That is going to be the top speed on flat ground for the NIU UQi GT in I believe it's sport mode, or maybe it's dynamic mode. We'll find out when I turn it back on. I haven't ridden one in a little while. In e-save mode, you're gonna get a whopping 13 miles an hour, which is not exactly meant for the US market. That's meant more for like a crowded European or Asian street where you have a ton of people and cars and, you know, food vendors and everything that are all on the same road, and you kind of have to take it easy so you don't run into anybody. We don't really have that here. Unfortunately, it's kind of fun and chaotic to ride through. But here you're probably never going to use the 13 mile an hour unless like you're totally taking back roads and you just don't have a care in the world. Chances are you're going to be at that 29 mile an hour mode the whole time. That said, the range will be affected by how much the rider weighs, how fast you're going, if you live in a hilly area, and you might find it useful to jump into that e-save mode, go a little slower every now and then just to kind of conserve some battery. The full range of the scooter is going to be 30 miles an hour on a charge. That's kind of assuming middle ground everything. Middle ground rider weight, you know, decent terrain that's mostly flat, not a hell of a lot of hills, that sort of thing. You're also going to get some battery life back through regenerative braking. Every time you hit the brakes, the disc is sliding through the caliper. You're going to generate some friction that's going to recharge up the battery a little bit. It's not going to be a heck of a lot. You're probably going to get 5 or 6% of battery back over the life of that particular charge by using the brakes. And of course, that's going to depend on how much you're on the brakes. If you're in a stop sign heavy area, you're stopping all the time, you're going to get more. If you're just kind of freely riding, no stop signs, all the lights are green, obviously less, because there's less chances to brake and get that energy back. Either way, your range is going to be roughly 30 miles, but of course that is going to vary. The real world has an effect on the range of an electric scooter, just like it has an effect on the range of a gas scooter. All right, charging. Very important with an electric scooter. It's how you get around. You have two options when it comes to charging. If you have a garage or shed or somewhere that's, secure, has power, it's real simple to charge. All you need to do, take your key, plug right in here to the lock at the seat, turn it, and your seat pops open. You can just pop this off, and then your charger will look like this. This is our shop charger. It has some spider webs on it, but yours will be nice and new and clean. Basically, you just plug it into the wall, plug it into here, and the bike will charge through the outlet directly through this wire into the battery. But what if I don't have a garage? Or what if I have a garage, but it has no power in it? No big deal. All you have to do is pop the battery out, unplug it, grab the handle, and pull the battery out. This is a 25-pound battery, and you can take it into your house or work or wherever and charge it there. When you're ready to go, you're gonna wanna go ahead and put this thing back into the scooter like so, get the handle out of the way, plug back in, and then you can close it and you're ready to go. If you ever want to see how the charging is going, you can press on this button right here and all these lights will shine up to let you know the status. Another option is if it is plugged into the wall and charging, you can actually turn the scooter on and you'll see the status of the charging on the dashboard. It'll tell you the percentage of where the battery's at. So let's talk about the battery a little more for a second. Something you should know is that nothing about it is repairable by the user, and if you open that battery, you can kiss your warranty goodbye. So don't ever mess with your battery. Don't try to take it apart. Don't try to mess with anything in there. They will literally void your warranty, and you don't want that at all. You have a nice 2-year warranty on the scooter itself and a 2-year warranty on the battery itself. Bring it to the pros if something is going wrong with it, which is pretty unlikely. We have another video on this channel that talks about kind of best practices for new batteries. Not going to go into that entirely. Basically, you don't want to get this thing down to 0%. We kind of live in a world where we're used to letting our cell phones completely die out and we just throw them on the charger and everything's fine. These batteries don't like to be treated like that. You're going to want to ideally keep them above 20% charge at all times. Obviously, if you're out somewhere and you got to get home, maybe you'll drop down into the 15s or something like that. But when you get home, make sure you plug that thing back in and kind of bring it up. Anywhere between like 30% to 80% is ideal for lithium-ion batteries. It's totally fine to take it up to 100 as well, but when you're storing it, you probably want to keep it between that 30 and 80 range. There's more details in that video about best practices for the new battery. If you let this battery completely die, what's going to happen is it's going to enter a sleep state. And if you're familiar with like carbureted gas scooters, where if you let them sit too long, the carburetors can clog up because the gas goes bad. This is essentially the carb clean of the future that has to be done on your battery. It'll go beyond a point where you're able to actually plug it in and recharge it yourself. You actually have to bring it into a dealership or service center. You can look those up online, take it to where you bought it, that sort of thing. And what the people there will be able to do is take the battery apart and plug it into a diagnostic tool and then kind of rebalance the cells as it charges up. Expect to pay for that service. It's probably going to take, 30 minutes to an hour. Hard to say what your local shop rate is, but just try to avoid that altogether, keeping your battery nicely juiced up. Something to know about the News is that they are intelligent vehicles. They call home a lot. And so even when you're not riding, there is a little bit of draw on your battery when the bike connects to a satellite to get over-the-air updates to update the firmware on the scooter. So if you really want to make sure that your bike's not talking to anybody when you're not riding, say you're not going to ride for a month or something, what you're going to want to do is open up that seat and just unplug the battery from the bike. And that way the battery is just self-contained by itself and nothing is drawing on it. One thing to keep in mind though is that there is kind of a secondary battery in here, kind of the CPU battery. It's a good idea to plug in and charge every now and then, maybe once every 3-4 weeks, month, to make sure that that battery isn't completely dying out. Hopefully I'm not scaring you here with all this battery stuff. The point is just keep an eye on the charge, and you're probably going to have such a good time riding this anyway that it's going to be fun. You're going to want to ride and you're going to charge it up because you're riding. Scooters are meant to be ridden. They're not really meant to be decorations or garage art, you know? Like we showed just a second ago, storage. Your battery takes up almost all of your underseat storage, and you get a bunch of little gifts when you get your new. You're going to get a second key and key fob. You're going to get a user manual, and you're going to get a nice packaged up spiderweb free charger. So it's this amount of stuff that's going home with this particular bike. On some of the other news, the charger is larger. So your probably best bet is going to be to bring a backpack or something like that so that you can take all this stuff home easily, because there's not really anywhere to put it on the scooter itself. Which also means that if you're going to be riding this somewhere and need the charger when you go there, you're gonna have to throw that in a backpack. If storage is a big deal to you, you're gonna be riding this thing all the time, going to the grocery store, you know, whatnot, getting beers, burritos. You can add a top case to the back of these. It's gonna sit back here, and it actually looks like that. And they're color matched to the bike. If you've got a whatever color new, they make a top case that will match it, and it can sit in the back. It's lockable as well. You're gonna get an extra key to go on your key ring there, and you can have that extra storage where you don't have it under the seat. There's also a bag hook right here where you can hang a bag. All right, so let's talk about getting this thing started. So what we're gonna do is take this key and key fob right here. Now, the only point of this key is to lock your steering and to open up your underseat storage. This bike is technically keyless. You mostly just use this little key fob right here that still has the plastic on it. I'm gonna take that off because it's ugly. Magic of editing, the thing is off. So essentially what you're gonna see on this key fob is an unlock, a lock, and this middle red button. The middle red button is how you turn the scooter on. The lock and the unlock is for the alarm. When you're walking up to your scooter, I would hope that your scooter's steering was locked. The way to do that is you would have the bars turned all the way to the left, and you turn the key to the left, and your steering is locked. That means nobody can easily just walk away with your scooter. They'd be going in circles when they're pushing it. When you come up to it, you're gonna wanna unlock the scooter. So now the bars can move freely, and then you're going to want to hit the unlock button here and the red button to get it started, and it's gonna kind of come to life. You're gonna see on the left side here, we've got a battery. We have the time. The time you can set in the app. We'll talk about that too. This battery is at 100% charge, has 3 miles on this particular bike. Here's your mode and your miles an hour. Now mode has 3 different spots, but this particular scooter and some of the slower news don't actually utilize all 3 modes. You only get 1 and 2. So mode 1 is the e-save. It doesn't have enough room on the dashboard to show you that. Mode 2 is typically dynamic mode on the faster ones, and then mode 3 is sport mode. You basically have e-save and dynamic only. It will not go to the top. This is not a problem. It's just that's how these bikes are. Okay, getting this thing started. Once the scooter is on, you don't actually have to put your key in here, but you might as well because it reminds you to lock the steering when you're done riding. I currently have the key in my pocket, and obviously the bike is still working fine. To get the bike going, you're gonna wanna hold a brake either side, doesn't really matter, and press and hold this green button right here, which will illuminate the ready light on the new. At this point, you are ready to ride. All you gotta do is twist the throttle and go. If you wanna come out of ready, all you need to do is just press and hold that green again, and it will turn off, and then you can't go anywhere on the bike. On the left side handlebars, left side of the grip, you've got a few different things. This is the high beam, low beam, the turn signals, the horn, and cruise control. Low beam is always gonna be on, that's a US law, but if you want the high beam, you can see on the wall there that the high beam is on. This is obviously gonna blind oncoming drivers, so maybe don't use it when a bunch of people are around. Just stay in the low beam. It is a very bright LED in both settings. This next one down here, the left and the right arrow, is the turn signals. You can hear what those sound like. They are flashing right here. One thing about the turn signals, they have a self-canceling feature, but it's only in a specific time. I'm gonna go ahead and cancel this manually by pressing straight in, and it turns it off. If I was making a turn from straight to the left or straight to the right, there's an accelerometer in this scooter, similar to how when you turn your cell phone sideways, it goes into landscape mode. It knows when you've made a turn like that, and it will cancel the turn signal for you. It will not work if you're just changing a lane. If you're going left to a different lane or right to a different lane, it cannot tell that you actually made a turn, and you actually have to cancel it yourself in those situations. Down below that, you have a horn. Here's what the horn sounds like. Down below that, you've got cruise control. A scooter with cruise control. So basically when you're riding and you got some throttle going, you can just press and hold the cruise control. It will set, and then you could like just kind of let the throttle go back to neutral, and it's going to continue going at whatever speed you set it at. If you want to cancel cruise control, just like in a car, you can either press the button or just kind of tap a brake and it will cancel cruise control out. Kind of nice for longer roads where you're not, don't have anything going on for a little while. On the right side of the handlebars, you have the mode selector here, just this minus sign and plus sign. All that's going to do is take you between mode 1 and 2 up on the dashboard. Slower mode e-save, 13 miles an hour. Faster mode, 29 on this scooter. Down below that, you have the kill switch that will kind of cut the power to the motor on this scooter. Down below that, you have hazard lights. They're going to sound like the turn signals, and it's just going to flash all of your turn signals at the same time, as you can see. If you ever accidentally hit that and you're hitting your turn signals wondering why they won't turn off, it's because you hit this side instead. And then down here below that is the green button. Like we said, that's how you get going. Press and hold to illuminate the ready. It actually turns out, I was thinking gas scooter, sorry, you don't have to hold a brake. All you have to do is press and hold the green and the ready light will turn on or off. I was in gas scooter mode where you need to hold a brake. These are your mirrors right here. They are adjustable. You can move them around like so. You can set them out or in depending on if you have wide shoulders. You just slide this up. You need a 14mm wrench to loosen or tighten this, and that's the same with both sides. This right here is your brake reservoir on both sides. You're going to want to come in and get your brake fluid flushed every 2 years, especially in a place like Portland, Seattle, etc. We're in a rainforest up here, and brake fluid attracts moisture, attracts water, which will eventually degrade the braking power and experience of the bike. In a warmer climate, you might be able to get away with it longer, but we're up here in rainy Portland. Not a lot of maintenance to do on an electric scooter, but brake fluid flushing is something you should keep an eye on. In Oregon and Washington, it is actually illegal to have a passenger on the back of a 49cc or 49cc equivalent scooter. There is a spot for these. They obviously build these for the rest of the entire world, and some countries don't really care what you do on a scooter. Some are very strict about it. In Oregon and Washington, no passengers allowed on any 49cc scooter, electric or not. Other states, it may vary. I don't know everybody's laws. If you got a friend or something who, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, spouse, whatever, dog, who wants to ride with you, tell them to get their own damn scooter. It's more fun to ride together anyway with somebody on a different bike. Handling the scooter is going to be very easy because most of the weight of it is down low. You can see down here in the rear wheel, in the center of the rear wheel is actually the entire motor. And that's where the majority of the weight is, outside of the battery underneath the seat. So it's all going to be lightweight and very easily maneuverable. Shut up. So one of the benefits of a NIU is that it is a very connected scooter. There is actually an app for the NIU that you as a NIU owner can pair your bike to so that you can see all sorts of things like battery condition, if there's diagnostic codes, software updates, and then riding info like past rides, showing maps of where you went, the exact route, that sort of thing. There's a lot of stuff in there, average speed, top speed, location of your bike, etc., which is all kind of cool. But here's the thing though about the app. Chances are your local scooter shop, us included, are not going to know much of anything about that app because the way it works is you get that service free for a few years. It might be 3 if I have it right. It could be less. I don't exactly remember. But the point is the clock starts ticking as soon as the first person pairs with the app. So we don't want to do that, right? Because say this bike comes in, we pair to it to see what it looks like, and then a month and a half later somebody comes in and says, hey, I want that one, the white one. And it happens to be sold that day. That means the NIU owner is getting a month and a half less time with the app. That sucks. So we don't pair to it, and chances are your local scooter shop doesn't either. So anyway, a bunch of stuff in the app. The way to do that is download the NIU app, obviously. Type NIU in your phone and you'll get to that. And then you're going to want to go underneath your seat right here. There is going to be a QR code in here that you can scan, and that will connect you to the app. If it's not under your seat, sometimes this plastic is not super conducive to stickers sticking to it. You can check inside your owner's manual as well, and there'll be a QR code there as well. If you're in the Portland area, you're going to see one of these stickers underneath your scooter when you get it. This is a service sticker showing you that your first service is at 500 miles and the person who set up the scooter. When you are at that mileage, you're going to want to go ahead and call or text this number down here to schedule a service. The service intervals on your scooter are 600 miles, and then I think it's every 1,800. You could push it to 2,000, and then just come in every 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, and most likely be fine. They do recommend that you come in more often if you live in a bumpy area where the fasteners might get loosened or the battery might get jostled a ton. So just keep in mind of where you're riding. If you're in Portland, I think you'd probably be fine to just come in every 2,000 or 1,800 as the manual says. Your services are not going to be included under your warranty. Your warranty is for something like, oh, my screen went out, or it's not reading the ambient light and changing from dark to light mode, that sort of thing. Your services are the responsibility of the owner, just like they would be with a car or motorcycle or whatever. So assume that those are not covered under your warranty. Your warranty exists for something that is literally manufacturally, that's not a word, but I'm using it, manufacturally wrong with your scooter. There are two things about this bike that I don't really like personally. Now I get that our entire purpose here making these videos and running a scooter shop is to sell scooters. But if I don't tell you the things that are a little bit grating, what credibility do we have, right? So here's two things I don't personally like. One is a software thing. If you have the scooter on and you're in ready mode and you're gonna ride, if you're holding a brake, even if it's the other side, it will not listen to your throttle inputs. You have to let go of both brakes before it will allow you to throttle. If you're holding and doing this, nothing happens. Why that's annoying to me, at least, is if you park on a hill, sometimes you want the stability of having a brake as you kind of ramp up and you can kind of come off of it evenly. On this, you're gonna need to just come off and then throttle. So small thing, it just is what it is. You'll probably get used to it, and if I hadn't mentioned it, maybe you wouldn't even have noticed it. But it's something that kind of drives me nuts coming from the gas side of the house. I kind of get where they're going for. If you hold a brake, that's counterintuitive to say you also want to keep going. There's probably a lot of uses where holding a brake and not listening to a throttle is actually a good thing because it could save you from going into a wall or something. But on a hill, it becomes a little bit frustrating for me. The second one is entirely related to the center stand. I'm gonna give it to you straight. This center stand is bad. It's the worst one I've ever seen. It is hard to get this bike on the center stand, and we put bikes on center stands all the time. We're pros at it. It is a weird angle to where like you kind of have to fight it. I'm gonna push it off, and it's like this. All right, now I'm gonna hold on to this thing, and I'm gonna put this thing on the stand. Like watch how it, jeez, it's like, I mean, granted I was on metal there, so I kind of slid. But basically, like, you kind of have to fight it a little bit. You really need to push down hard, and it would help if you pulled up the back as you did it as well, just because that stand is a bit of an odd angle. If you don't want to deal with that center stand, which is obviously the more stable way to park, then you can actually just use this side stand, bicycle style stand, which is going to be a lot easier to handle. Long-term parking though, I would probably put it on the stand and just kind of fight it. The second thing I don't like about this center stand is that this is the only scooter in the entire building where the back wheel contacts the ground while the bike is on the center stand. You might not think that's a big deal, but this is an electric scooter and it makes no noise and gives you no indication other than the little ready light that it is ready to ride at any time. So, on gas scooters, for example, you turn that thing on, you're gonna hear an engine, and when you throttle, the back wheel is gonna be lifted off the ground, even if it's on the center stand, and it's just gonna spin freely. Where on this one, you try to do this in a very not dangerous way, is my back wheel is on the ground. So if I say we're ready to ride, and I'm gonna put it in the slow mode, and I give it the slightest bit of throttle, like it's spinning the wheel on the ground, which could grab it and kind of throw the bike forward. So if you're going to try to spin the wheel, make sure you rotate it up so that you can actually get the wheel to spin freely. If you come here, there's a chance you could kind of throttle this thing off into the oblivion. My recommendation is you never put this thing into ready mode until you are off the stand, sitting on it, and really ready to actually ride. That's your best bet. I also don't recommend that you leave this on and kind of push it while it's in ready mode. We actually had one customer, feel bad for her, hopefully she's not watching this. She bought her bike, rode home, and 15 minutes later was pushing it into her garage. It was on, accidentally throttled, and threw it into the garage. You don't want to do that. So keep it out of ready mode until you are actually seated on it, ready to ride. Going back to the over-the-air updates we were talking about a little bit ago, your scooter has essentially a cell phone embedded within it that doesn't look as nice, that will talk to the cloud and kind of reach back to news servers and look for over-the-air updates that it will download and install itself. Any larger update will show up on your app, and some of those might tell you but they're like BMS, battery management system related, and those you may have to go into your local service center to get the update downloaded. Some of which, if it's the battery itself, obviously the battery is going to have to restart, so it needs to be plugged into some kind of auxiliary power and then kind of be on the diagnostic tool to get its update. As of the time of filming this is September 2022, there's an update for current new riders. You probably shouldn't have this issue at all if you're getting a new from this point and beyond. But basically, 3G has been kind of discontinued on cell phone towers, and that's what they were using to download these updates. So there was a major update that went to existing new users through the app that you had to do before like June 1st, and it would update the way that it downloads up to like LTE 5G standard of what cell phone towers have now. That kind of thing is obviously going to be super, super far between. Even a battery update of that level is going to be real far between. So for the most part, you're just going to get those over-the-air updates and everything's going to be fine. So like we said a little bit earlier, not a lot of maintenance to do on an electric scooter. It's not like you have a lot of moving parts here. One thing you want to do though, for sure, is to check the tire pressure in your scooter. If you keep that tire pressure spot on or right around where the manufacturer wants it, you're going to prolong the life of your tires. You're going to get the full range out of the scooter battery because you don't have a lot of rolling resistance, and everything's going to feel better. Riding a scooter with really low air pressure just sucks. It feels sluggish and kind of crappy. So when you fill up your tires, you can look right here on this VIN plate right here. This is where the VIN of the scooter is going to be, the gross vehicle weight rating, etc. Right here it's going to say front and rear. So the front, it's going to want 29 PSI, and the back it's going to want 33 PSI. To get your tires aired up, it's real simple. If you've ever had a beach cruiser bicycle or anything like that, or your car, if you have a car, it's just a Schrader valve. You're going to take the valve stem cap off right here, put a bicycle pump on there, or take it to the gas station, your air compressor at your house, whatever, fill it up, put the cap back on, and you're set to go. Smaller wheels are going to lose air a little faster than larger wheels. So in the colder months, if you're still riding, just know that you should probably be checking this like once a month, because like every 10 degrees of air temperature that drops, you generally lose like 1 pound PSI in your tire and it doesn't come back. So more of an issue in the colder months to be checking things more constantly if you're riding, but always check. If your bike starts feeling crappy, it turns kind of muddy feeling, it's probably your tires, they're probably too low. So that about does it for the NIU UQi GT. This is a lightweight electric scooter, 49cc equivalent. It is meant for getting around small areas quickly, efficiently, and quietly with no trips to the gas station. The scooter's got a metal frame with plastic paneling around it, which is going to keep the weight low and make the scooter easy to handle. Riding a UQi GT is going to be a fun, easy, and low-stress way to get around your area. Ride to get some ice cream, ride to your friend's house, ride to a park and hang out. You know, ride to the movie theater. Enjoy your life and the feeling that riding a scooter gives you. Because people, riding a scooter is fun. You heard it here first. This is Andrew at Vespa Portland. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.